everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, August the 11th, race number 8 at Saratoga, the Grade 2 National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame. We're going a mile on the inner turf for 3-year-olds. $500,000 is the purse. Before we take a look at the field, check out those Timeform US past performances available at DRF.com, especially in a field like this where you've got some European entrants. You get all the goodness from Timeform concerning those foreign raiders. Learn more at drf.com/TFUS101. Here's the field for the Hall of Fame, rescheduled from last week. And if you click or scan the QR code, you can access Race of the Day on mobile, which includes free Formulator past performances. The one more than looks is the 5-2 morning line favorite. The question is, was last time the time?
Yeah, it's a fair question to ask. Just another step in the right direction for this very progressive-looking 3-year-old daddy. Drew great for this race. You're going to have to take a shorter price this time, but you know one thing, he will be kicking hard in the stretch.
He usually doesn't break very well, but as Mike mentions, he does have a strong stretch kick. So as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, he's hoping that there's going to be some hitting up front, and there is a potential for that. You see the 2 Carl Spackler close to the pace, the 8 General Jim switching from dirt to turf, and of course you've got the 5 Appraise. I'm not sure how fast they're going to go, Mike. I think the 9 Backflip will be close to the lead. Personally, I think Appraise and Carl Spackler will be close to the pace.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I agree with General Jim, being up there part of this pace early. We'll see how it all plays out. He is certainly exiting some faster paced dirt races. But as a turf horse last year, they were never that aggressive with him. So we'll see what they decide to do. I thought Carl Spackler, first of all, he got the best of the redraw here, Dan. He moves into post 2. He's fast early. If he breaks, I think he'll be on the lead.
More Than Looks, of course, has the LP flag over his number 1 Chicklet. That means he has the best late pace rating from Timeform US. And if you don't believe me, the visual tells it all. Here's More Than Looks win in the Grade 3 Manila. As usual, he didn't break very well. He got a pretty nice closer's trip. He was able to stalk on the outside at the back. He swings to the outside in the stretch, and he's going to run down a couple of really nice horses with a strong late bid.
Yeah, he just fires another good one here. I mean, Johnny V actually worked out a decent trip for him after a little bit of a slow break, but he just comes flying at the end and just runs these 2 pretty nice horses, Dan. He runs them right over at the end of the race. You could pull any one of the replays of his prior turf races, and you'll see the same thing. This horse flies through the stretch. He just needs a trip in here.
Carl Spackler, the number 2, got a little bit of a break since his most recent start. That was his graded stakes debut on Derby weekend in the American turf. And it was a race where he was very close to a fast pace before tiring. Now, Carl Spackler does have the speed to get up close to the pace. It's also worth noting that if he doesn't get the lead, he can kick strongly. I was very impressed by the way he won at Gulfstream 2-back.
Yeah, he was really impressive, breaking his maiden 2-back in fast time. And that came off the heels of a super strong performance in his debut, Dan, where he did all the hard work and just got nailed by Farbridge, who's a really, really nice horse. This horse has run really well in all 3 of his starts here. The American turf, it didn't quite work out for him last time. But again, he can be forward in here. You're right. He doesn't need the lead, but it wouldn't be a bad thing if they decided to go with it in here and put him on the front. He had the far outside post last week. This race was redrawn. He moves to the inside now. He could easily make the lead.
It'll be the toughest test to date for the number 3 behind enemy lines, but he's coming into this race off of a rock-solid performance at Penn National in their Penn Mile, a Grade 2. Let's watch that race. He made an early move on the backstretch and into the turn to take over the lead, and it's going to take the favorite Major Dude from the Pletcher barn to come get him. I thought overall, this horse ran a very good race for Jack Sisterson, who can pull off big prices in these graded stakes races. Does he have to improve? Probably a little bit, but he is in good form, and he does have that sort of tactical speed and a nice gear as well.
I agree with all that stuff. I think in retrospect, he probably moved a little too early in that Penn Mile last time, and it cost him at the end. He still ran really well. The one little issue I had with him, Dan, I don't know, maybe you could talk about this a little more about how you feel about it. I thought 2-back in that American turf. I thought overall he got a good trip. He didn't break great, but after that, I thought he got a really good trip. And it just kind of felt like he wasn't good enough against a field like that one. But I'm willing to be wrong about that because I like his other races.
You're right. He didn't break very well. I mean, he was sort of buried last on the rail, way at the back of the pack. He wasn't, in any sort of traffic issues, but he was just so far back. And then he came with the run, and as is his wont, he changed back to his left lead in the stretch, something that he might have to correct against these better horses. The 4 is Ocean Vision. This is a multiple stakes winner in France where the competition is usually very strong, and he took on an excellent field last time out in a Group 3. The winner of that race came back to run third in a Group 1. The runner-up came back to win a Group 3, so he fits with these kind of horses.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, I don't think you would look at him and say that he's shipping over here into a spot that's too tough for him because he has kept good competition. I personally just haven't really loved his form over there. He did run pretty well 2 starts back when he won that little stakes race as the favorite. And I know it was a tough field last time, Dan, but I didn't think that he ran that well.
Appraise was well beaten by Mysterious Knight in last year's summer, but I wonder if it's a tale of 2 horses going different directions. Appraise came back in his seasonal debut and did this for Chad Brown, going 7/8 of a mile, pushing the pace early and then holding sway. I thought, considering the layoff, it was a really good performance for Appraise. And if Carl Spackler isn't aggressive, Chad, of course, trains both Carl Spackler and Appraise. Maybe Appraise is the one to try to make the lead stretching back out to the mile.
That certainly seems like a possibility. I'm with you though. Listen, he was no match for Mysterious Knight last year at Woodbine. He still ran pretty well in that race. He was clearly second best. I thought it was a good performance. I just appreciated how he won that race that we just watched there off the layoff. That I mean, you have to be fit to come back off the layoff and go 7 furlongs and to do it up on the pace while taking some pressure. He did all of that last time. I thought it was a real step in the right direction.
Mysterious Knight, the number 6, had a very good 2-year-old campaign. Not only a group winner overseas, but a very impressive winner of Woodbine's Grade 1 Summer Stakes. Now, he's run twice this year, and he hasn't run well at all. And he was listed as a gelding for his most recent start. Really, geld Grade 1 winners. He didn't run well that day. I have no idea what sort of form he's coming in. They're putting blinkers on now, but you have to respect these connections.
You do, and I guess you could. The one way to look at it, Dan, would just to be that he's 10-1 on the morning line, and you know that if he somehow finds a way to regroup, he can be really tough in here. You won't see horses win Grade 1 races any easier than he won the summer last year. I mean, he just absolutely buried that field. The flip side of that is they've run him twice this year, and he hasn't even resembled the same horse. He was terrible both times.
Now, Brown has Carl Spackler, and Brown has Appraise. He's showing a lot of confidence with his third entrant, the number 7, Mischievous Angel. This is his career debut, going 3/4 of a mile back in June. He's got a lot of work to do turning into the stretch, and for a first-time starter to get to the outside and run by everybody, that's pretty impressive. So for only his second lifetime start, his first route race, they're going to try graded stakes competition. This is a very likable debut win.
Yeah, it really is. They're showing a lot of confidence here to run him back in the Hall of Fame. And listen, why not? Off of the visual evidence anyway of that debut, he was really strong in this. He was a little green early in the running there, but he figured it out pretty quickly and came with a powerful finish. They're asking a lot of him here, even with that that kick we just saw there. Dan, he's probably not the strongest finisher in this race, but he could certainly get the right trip in here, and I won't be surprised when he takes a step forward.
Although General Jim is best known this year for his exploits on dirt, winning a pair of graded stakes races, he's plenty capable on the grass, winning his first 2 turf starts last year, including one over the inner turf at Saratoga. I remember looking at the workout report leading up to the Woody Stevens, a Grade 1 race on dirt on Belmont Stakes Day. He was bet down to 5-2 that day. They were not pleased with how he was working. He didn't run very well. Now Shug's going to put him back to turf. He has races good enough to win this on dirt, and I have a feeling if he gets the right trip, he might be able to get a piece of this, if not more. I need more than 9-2, though.
I agree with everything that you just said about him, Dan. I mean, he's the kind of horse you're looking for is to improve from 2 to 3. This horse certainly did that. He's better at 3 than he was at 2, albeit on a different surface. But if he can bring that improvement back over to the grass, I mean, he could be a major player in here. I liked his turf form last year. I can't say that I thought he ran great in the Central Park when Batflip beat him, but I guess he ran okay that day. It's all about whether you think he's going to be able to take a step forward back on grass here, and then what kind of price you would want on him. I don't want 9-2 on him.
We talked about Chad Brown showing a lot of confidence in the 7, Mischievous Angel. How about Todd Pletcher and the 9, Batflip? This will be his first start since November. He looked good winning the Central Park, going a mile beating General Jim, who finished third. Bat Flip showed his good tactical speed to get right up close to the pace. He makes the lead in the stretch, and he just has General Jim's number all the way down to the wire. He really took a step forward when switched to turf last year. This outside post position, really not the best, but with his tactical speed, maybe he can sort of get out of there and get into a good spot without losing too much ground.
Yeah, agreed. I liked him a little bit more last week when he was drawn more towards the inside. Being outside, though, it's not like it's a death sentence here, Dan. He's got good tactical speed. Really liked that Central Park that we just watched. I thought he ran really well there, and his prior two-star starts were both pretty good as well. I think there's a ton of upside here, and as opposed to some of the other horses we've already talked about, he might be a pretty fair price in this race.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. It's top pick time for the Hall of Fame. More Than Looks has that strong stretch kick. Now, he was a price last time out in the Manila. I believe he's the morning line favorite in this race, but if he gets the right trip and the right race flow, you'll know him in the final 16th.
Yeah, it's all about whether he can work out the right trip here. And I think if he does, he's going to be really tough to hold off just based on what he's done so far. I'm going to take him on top in here, Dan. I moved Carl Spackler up just because he moved inside and maybe he gets a better trip in here, but I still want to use a lot of Bat Flip at the 9. I think he's going to be a price, and I think there's a lot of upside there.
More Than Looks for me, behind enemy lines, I think is slowly getting better. I think his price is going to be fair, and if he runs his usual number, he can be in the mix at a decent number behind More Than Looks. 1293 for Mike, 1352 for me. It's the Friday race of the day, the Hall of Fame. Best of luck.